Welcome to the Voiceover Sermon with Terry Daniel, the podcast for voiceover artists with tons of handy tips, tricks, and useful information to help you run your voiceover business better. And now, here's your host, Terry Daniel.
Well, good morning, everybody. Welcome to another award-winning episode of Voiceover Sermons. I'm Terry Daniel in Minneapolis, voice actor, coach, demo producer. Rob Marley is with us again. Rob,
Hello.
People demanded that you come back. And here you are.
The people's choice.
The people have spoken, and you are now a part of every single podcast episode. We're going to throw in a multitude of content out there and do 8 of these a week.
Oh, that's a great idea.
Yeah, we'll do 8 of these a week and talk about the same thing.
Yeah. It's the morning show.
Again, yeah.
It's like the wacky morning zoo.
By the way, I'm being a complete hypocrite. I'm sitting here with a hot cup of Joe with cream in it.
Oh, I had a can of Monster. I'm good.
Oh, God, yeah. It's always good to start your morning off with, a big bag of marshmallows and a cup of coffee with some cream and add some French fries to that.
It's funny. I after lunch, whatever I eat for lunch, I can guarantee I will have a client hit me up and say, "Hey, can you do this really quick?" And then it's Phlegm City.
Oh, yeah.
You're
constantly.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. All the way through.
Yeah.
The only time I'm ever really careful, because I think, obviously vocal health is important, but I think, the whole coffee in the morning or you should drink this, that, and do this and that, I think sometimes that can be a little overrated in the industry.
Yeah.
The only time I ever really take it seriously is if I'm booked for an agent gig and I actually have to go to the studio and do the gig. I'm going to stay away from spicy foods and and a bunch of coffee with cream. But if I'm recording at home and I know that I don't have to record for this client for a couple of hours, I'm just going to drink as much whiskey as possible. No, I'm kidding.
Whiskey and cigars.
Kidding. No, obviously, you don't want to sit there and eat, 3 bags of Wendy's before your recording session. But I think a little coffee with a little coconut cream isn't going to kill you.
I think during the day, I think water is the most important thing. I mean, if you start getting mouth noise, it's from dehydration. Those spit bubbles that form in the mouth, those pops and clicks that you hear, that's from a lack of moisture in the body, and it's your mouth kind of drying out. But I mean, I think people overdo it with the water. I really do.
Well, anything's better than Red Bull.
Ah.
Isn't that what you got? Did you say that's what you got going?
No, I got Monster.
Oh yeah, is that the same thing? Close?
No. I mean,
what's Monster?
It's just ridiculous amounts of caffeine. But what I drink is like a 0 sugar, 0 carbs. It's just pure caffeine.
Oh God, do you remember Jolt Cola?
I do remember Jolt.
Oh God,
all the sugar and twice the caffeine.
Oh yeah,
and
and they advertised it that way.
Oh,
twice the sugar and twice the caffeine. You need Jolt.
And it worked. That was a great marketing strategy.
God, perfect for your voice.
They were the start of the energy drink craze.
Yeah, slam down a 6-pack of that 2 minutes before your session.
Yeah, you're going to drop from a heart attack afterwards, but hey, you'll be awake.
Since we are touching on that, I see a lot of questions about this, not only to our team of coaches, but all over the internet where people have like, oh, I've got a session in 30 minutes. I woke up with a horrible cold. Guess what? Nothing's going to help. You have to reschedule the session. There's, you can do the, what's the nasal thing that people think it's just the neti pot. People always, that's the first thing try the neti pot is not going to be a quick fix if you sound like shit and you feel like shit.
I've had a neti pot in my bathroom for like 2 years and still don't have the courage to do it.
Yeah, you're not suddenly gonna feel better and sound better. It's gonna clean you out a little bit.
Yeah,
but you're still gonna sound like you have a cold. Yeah.
Yeah, if you've got a cold, there's nothing you can do but rest. That's the only thing.
I got sent home once because I was too stupid and stubborn to tell my agent I just couldn't go because I thought I was going to be good enough. And sure enough, I put the headphones on. I'm in the booth and I'm trying to warm up my voice. And I knew it. I knew they were going to kick me out. I could hear it in the headphones, and I was all apologetic. This was early on in my career. Again, another learning experience. If you feel like hell, just see what your agent can do to reschedule the session. Now, sometimes they just have to go with another talent, and there's nothing we can do about it.
There was a time where I got a cold, and it affected, and it always seems to affect my voice. But and there was like one day where the cold made my voice like it was just perfect. It was like Don LaFontaine. It was just down here, and it was very just. I'm like, let's record everything.
I'm Mr. Promo voice.
Yeah, and then the next day it was like Harvey Fierstein. You know, it was that. Oh my God, I can't talk like this, and it was like, no, it's time for rest.
Yeah, you just don't force it when it's not there. Hopefully the agent can reschedule it. And if this is a gig that you got by way of being an independent contractor where you're working with the client direct, hopefully the client is flexible. Just say, hey, you don't want to use my voice today. Can you give it a couple more days?
Yeah, and most production companies should be pretty okay with that. It's like they're going to understand you get a cold, And
if it's automotive is usually like, do or die.
Yeah,
because
they need it that day.
Running.
Yeah, they need it that day because it's going on the air tomorrow or that afternoon,
One thing I want to mention, too, people are always like, well, how do you really get the attention of a prospective client? And you've heard Rob and I talk about the importance of coaching and getting a demo professionally produced, and we'll get to that in a minute. But something that worked back in my radio days, because I did on-air for a couple different radio stations, but I was also on the sales side for a few years.
Wow.
And I miss the social part of it because there were some great people there, but I don't miss sales at all. But what worked for me is producing what we called in the industry a spec spot. And what I would do is I would go up to the production studio. If there was a client that I, wanted to sell to the station, I would present a spec spot to the client, because once they hear their name in a potential commercial, even though it's fake, they do get excited and they get a little more engaged in what you're telling them, because suddenly they're hearing their name or the name of the business in the spec spot.
Yeah, you're giving them an example of how their commercial could sound.
It's a great idea for voice acting. That's my point, is you can put together some type of a spec spot and say, even if the client is like maybe not super interested, you could come back and say, hey, how about I put together a spec spot just so you can hear what the commercial could potentially sound like.
Yeah, I probably wouldn't even say spec spot, because unless it's like an established agency or production company, they're probably not even going to know what a spec spot is. I'd just say, let me give you a sample of what your spot could sound like.
Yeah, a sample would probably be the better term to use.
It gets spec spot's such an industry thing.
It'll get them excited.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a great idea. The trick is to make sure that it's not too good for them to just steal it and put it on the air.
Yeah, you don't want that. Definitely, don't record the entire copy, or you can still use, if you're using Audition, you can use watermarking, where you get the little beep thing every few seconds.
Yeah, I suppose you could do that, or just change their phone number or something.
Yeah, or change the name of their website, or just make sure it's very important. You don't want them to steal what you've done, and it's worked well throughout the course of my career.
Yeah.
Now, backing up a little bit, let's talk about the demos.
Okay.
I know we've touched on this, altogether I've touched on this probably in about 50 episodes of voiceover sermons, but you can't hit this home enough in how important it is to not self-produce your demo.
And it's so funny because we've all done it. We've all done it.
Yeah. This comes from guilt.
Yeah. My first demo, I thought, I'd been doing voiceover for the businesses I worked for decades. And I thought, well, shit, I know everything there is to know about voiceover. I'm just going to put together my demo. And man, I listen to it now and it's like, oh my God, no wonder no one was hiring me.
Yeah, you definitely need somebody to put it together professionally, because a lot of people don't have the gear. You know, they'll plug a USB mic into their iPad and try to record their own demos. And let me tell you something, talent agents aren't stupid. They will sniff out a self-produced demo in 2 seconds flat.
I've always thought it was urban legend and stuff, but I've heard it confirmed from multiple agents. You have like less than 5 seconds to wow somebody with your demo. And if they don't hear what they want to hear in the first 5 seconds, you're done. They're moving on. No one's going to listen to a 2-minute demo if the first 5 seconds are crap. You know, and they're going to know in those first 5 seconds whether or not you've got what it takes.
Absolutely. And the attention span in our industry has declined.
Oh, yeah.
In the last several years where, you know, you've got agents and production directors that are so busy. And yeah, if the first spot, I, as a demo producer, always try to put the best clip up front. The strongest clip that represents that talent, I put it first because
absolutely,
even if it's fabulous, there's no guarantee the agent or the production director is going to listen to the whole thing.
No, you're absolutely absolutely right. The absolute best product that you have, the best voiceover that you can do has to be the best take or whatever it is, has to be on the very front of your demo. That's the first thing, is your very best spot. And then it works back from there, because they're going to tell within seconds whether or not, you know, they like you. You know, you've got to knock their socks off within 5 seconds, and that'll buy you, if they like it, that'll buy you another 5 seconds.
Right. And every clip on the demo should sound like an actual commercial. Now, we're talking about commercial demo here because I get demos sent to me from talents who want me to give them some feedback on their demo.
Sure.
And, you know, sometimes they're horrible. Sometimes they're actually pretty good. But yet, occasionally, there'll be a clip on the demo that this person has no chance of booking. Now, I understand stretching somebody's range and ability. And I don't know who the coach would have been, but they had some crazy clip on there where it was clearly so far out of this talent's comfort zone that they had no chance of booking a spot like that.
You have to sound similar to what that particular brand has got on the air. You know, you can't just do your version of a McDonald's spot if it doesn't sound like something McDonald's would put on the air. It's not going to work. And it's going to sound fake. It's going to sound like you produced it yourself, and they're going to move on quickly.
Well, variety is always the key, and I always try to make sure that every clip on the demo sounds a little bit different. Definitely, you know, I try to stay within, not necessarily within the comfort zone, but within the range of the talent. Again, making sure that there's a chance, based on all of these clips, that they can book.
Yeah, I mean, every producer and casting director knows that a demo is not real, but it still needs to sound like these are finished spots that were produced at different times, recorded in different studios on different microphones. It has to sound, each one has to sound different. If it sounds like, you know, you're just reading 3 lines and then moving on and reading 3 lines again and moving on and reading 3 more lines, you know, if you're just reading a script from top to bottom, that's not going to work. It needs to sound like little bits and pieces of commercials.
And it's always important to learn the acting part of voice acting first. I see so many conversations on social media and in, you know, voiceover forums where people are so focused on the gear. And I think we touched on this a little bit in the last episode. Yeah, It's way more fun to buy recording gear than it is to pay for coaching. But
sure, it's
the coaching that's going to get you the gigs.
Exactly. The gear is like the tangible stuff that represents you're a voiceover artist. Ooh, I got this microphone. Ooh, I got this preamp. But unless you have the skills to back it up, it doesn't matter how expensive the gear is. It's garbage in, garbage out. You've got to know, you've got to focus on your internal skills first.
And that's the part that people, again, it's the non-glamorous part of this whole process when you're first getting started, because it's not, it's not that fun, shiny toy. Oh, I got to buy some coaching. That's not going to be as fun as buying a Neumann TLM 103 and an Apollo Twin preamp.
Right. Everybody thinks that, they don't want to do the work. They just want the easy stuff. All I need to do is just buy this crap and I'll be a voice artist. No, not really. I mean, it's acting, voice acting. The word acting is in the title. Learn how to act. You don't need to be able to quote Shakespeare, but
you don't
learn the principles of acting.
Are you sure you don't? I always try to include Shakespeare quotes in my demos.
Oh, yeah, that's a winner. Just learn the principles. Understand how acting works. Understand the flow of a sentence and how to create a character, how to be a character, how to make a performance. Because it needs to. I tell my students this all the time. It's like good actors know to take the words. It has to pass through that human element before it becomes real. Otherwise, it's just words on a page, and anybody can recite words, but an actor knows how to take those words and use his emotions and his past experiences to make them come to life, and that's what an actor does, and you need to know how to do that. You need to learn acting.
And the short, it's kind of interesting because when I pass people kind of like a short 10, 15 second script, they're short but deadly. Every word matters in that script. Not that it doesn't in a lengthier script, but you have a lesser time to make an impression when you're doing a 15-second TV or radio spot.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
It's funny. I see, people like to update, other members of the group. And it's fun, I'm not knocking this. It's fun when you start putting together your recording booth. And I see people constantly updating people on the picture with pictures of their booth. And then, I'll comment on the post and say, how are your reads? And sometimes they won't even know what I'm talking about. I'm like, have you coached with anybody? Have you learned the acting part of voice acting? Because what you're showing me in this particular forum post is impressive, but are you going to be able to deliver in that said studio?
Yeah, exactly. It's what's in front of the microphone that's the most important part. It's not the microphone. It's what's in front of it.
Well, Rob, good information as always. And, occasionally we'll bring a guest in on the podcast. And actually one of our other coaches, Jan Anderson, who's our recording engineer of our team, he's the one who works with our students on room treatment and recording setup. He's going to sit in on one of our episodes very soon.
Man, he knows a lot of stuff. I've taken some sessions with him just to tweak my audio and make sure it sounds the way it needs to be. He knows his stuff. That's for sure.
Yeah. So we'll have him on an episode soon. I mean, that's what people, not to boast, but that's what people love about our team is everybody kind of has their own different specialty. I mean, Trish Bassani usually does our voiceover marketing coaching sessions. And
she is awesome too.
Oh yeah, she's fabulous. You and I are more kind of focused on script performance, and obviously I'm the demo producer of the team. And here we go, jumping into an infomercial about
Honestly,
our team.
I think one of the things that sets us apart from other voiceover coaches out there is that there is a team effort. You have, when you sign up, you have a team of people who have a vested interest in wanting to see you succeed. It's not just one guy taking your money, giving you some scripts, and sending you a demo at the end of a couple months.
Oh, yeah.
There's a team of people, and each person teaches a little differently. The way you coach is different than the way I coach, the way Trish coaches, so you learn from multiple people. And that's a good way to learn. You're absorbing as much as you possibly can from multiple sources. It's nice to have a team in your corner that helps you, instead of just one guy.
And it prepares you to work with several different clients because you're going to get different feedback from every client that you work with.
Absolutely. Right, right. So it's important to learn as much as you can from as many different sources as possible. And that's one of the things that sets us apart, I think, is that we've got multiple people that are here to help you instead of just one guy. Not that you're not good.
Well,
not that you need.
I'll tell you what.
People,
I used to try to do all this stuff by myself, and I'm lucky to be alive today that I didn't have a heart attack or a stroke. Because when you, Trish, Jan, and Garnett came into the mix, then it felt like it was a band. It felt like it was a badass band.
It's a good, hardworking team. I can't imagine doing this all on my own. Oh, that would be.
Well, it just wasn't. It just started the business started to grow, and it just was. Plus, I wanted. It's fun to work with like you said, 4 or 5 different people, and it's good to have, like, Trish does marketing, Rob does script coaching, Jan does the recording treatment setup session, Terry does the demos. You know, people seem to really like working with us as a team. And we have a Facebook group that we'd like to throw out there right now. If you're brand new to VoiceOver, this is a great group. It's called Voiceover Camp. And if you actually just type that in the search box of Facebook, you should find it. Send me a request to get in, and we shall grant you access.
The great thing, I mean, I always tell people that are getting into voiceover, you know, what should I do? How do I get started? And I'm always saying, be a sponge, absorb as much as you can, as quickly as you can. And VO Camp is a great resource because there's so much good information being presented. You know, people ask good questions and we provide good answers and solid advice to, you know, what it takes to get started in the business, how to move your career forward, you know, and it's not just, you know, buy this course or take this class or something else. It's like, no, we're sharing little nuggets of wisdom that can help you move your career forward. And that's what you want to do. This shouldn't just be a job that makes you beer money. You know,
right?
If you really want to do this, you know, as a career, as a life-sustaining career, then you need the proper skills. And VO Camp is a great way to learn those skills.
Well,
Absolutely.
It's a good place to be a sponge because not everybody can afford the training up front, and we understand that because we've been there. You just want to be careful that you're not like a sponge like 3 years later, because eventually you do need to move forward.
Yeah, I mean, stagnation is tough. You know, I mean, yeah, you can learn a lot, but eventually it's going to reach a point where, okay, I've heard this before and I've heard this before. And when you reach that point, it's like, okay, now it's time to move forward with the next step. You know, it's like, okay, you've learned as much as you can. Now let's do some one-on-one and learn more, you know, and advance your career. If you want this as a career, you need coaching. Absolutely.
Absolutely. It is mandatory. And the URL for our group is facebook.com/groups/voiceovercamp, all one word. That would be, you can find it that way, or just use the search box. And
I should just find it easy on the search.
You can find us. Rob is in there. Trish is in there. Jan, Garnett. The entire team is in Voiceover Camp, and we're always happy to help. I'm in my 31st year of doing this. Can you believe that?
Holy cow. Man.
Things were a lot different when I started this way back in the latter part of the 80s.
Things were different 2 years ago.
I know. This is a business that's always evolving and changing, and you have to stay on top of things. That's why it's always a good idea, even if you've had a couple of pro demos that have worked really well for you, you know, changing it up, you know, every year or so, and
Absolutely.
getting them redone is key.
A perfect example. I mean, with the pandemic, like last year, the amount of auditions that asked for that heartfelt, sincere, we're with you, we're on your side, we're in this. So it would make sense to have a demo that has that heartfelt, sincere read right in the beginning. Because, you know, companies were looking for that, you know, genuine, loving, you know, sincere sound. And if you've got that up front and center, then it's like, oh, this guy knows what he's doing. You know, that's how you get hired. You know, so it makes sense to have that on your demo. So update your demo to, you know, reflect the needs of the industry at that moment.
And keep in mind that Rob and I are voiceover coaches, but we also get coaching. Coaches get coaches. The education and the mentoring never stops. Just because you're a pro that's been in the business for 31 years doesn't mean that you can't start getting sloppy with your reads or need some type of a marketing refresher. Trust me, we all do it.
There isn't a working professional out there that hasn't gotten additional coaching some point in their career. I mean, the top pros that are making, you know, 150, 200,000 or more a year are still getting coaching, are still trying to stay up on trends and make sure that their reads are as conversational as they can be. And the only way to do that is with a qualified expert that can say, no, that was terrible. And now here's a better one. And, you know, and you need that kind of level of coaching when you're making that kind of money. So there's nobody working in the voiceover business right now that hasn't gotten coaching.
Well,
None.
Our friend Joe Cipriano, who you know,
Yeah. Love Joe. He's a great guy.
Even when he has his demos updated, he has somebody else do it, and he will not do it unless somebody's coaching him. And here is one of the most successful voiceover guys on the planet, and he will refuse to do anything himself. God bless him.
Yeah, he knows. I mean, there's a reason why he's the number one guy in voiceover or whatever you want to say. I mean, he's a very successful guy because he never stops learning. He never stops trying to improve himself. I mean, hell, Tiger Woods still gets coaching. I mean, that says everything. It's like when you become that level of professional, you just need to move to the next level of coaching.
Right. And it's good that you brought,
keep being prominent.
It's good that you brought the athletes thing. I mean, think about baseball players. They have a hitting coach. They have a fielding coach.
Right.
They have, they all have about 4 or 5, even more different coaches that they work with, and football players too. It's not just one coach, it's multiple coaches.
Yeah, there's a coaching team. It's a team of people that show you specific things in specific areas to help you advance, your skills. And you need that. It can't just be one guy.
So the moral of the story is that we recommend coaching.
Yeah, I think we've nailed that.
I think we've pretty much covered that, but we're running out of time. Rob, thank you for the time as always. It's always a pleasure. Been such a blast. I think we'll have Jan on with us during the next episode, and in the future here, I think we're going to get our entire team on to do a podcast episode. And as I mentioned, we're going to at least attempt to try to do one of these a week. And we're always happy to help.
I think a big group like kind of almost like Voiceover Cafe. Remember that thing?
Oh yeah, oh yeah.
Get a bunch of people together and a bunch of industry people, a bunch of working professionals, and just have them talk and have them share information. This is great. Yeah, get Trish on here, get Jan on here. Absolutely,
we're gonna do it. It's gonna be great. So, thank you everybody. This has been another episode of Voiceover Sermons, and again. We don't have a Voiceover Sermons group page, but you can find us on Voiceover Camp. So please join our group, facebook.com/groups/Voiceover Camp. And we'd love to have you. Until next time, Rob, thank you very much.
As always.
And we'll talk to you soon, everybody. Take care.
Thank you for tuning in to the Voiceover Sermon with Terry Daniel. See you next time for more useful tips and tricks to help make your voiceover business run better.